Welcome to the Dowden Podcast. I'm your host, the official CRG, and today we are going to talk about why, as a growing content creator or entrepreneur, you absolutely have to start getting used to those failures and roadblocks in order to really see growth. But before we get started, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. That way you don't miss any weekly episodes and posts. You can find video of this episode strictly on YouTube, but the audio everywhere else. Now, when it comes to being a content creator or entrepreneur, it hands down can be one of the hardest things you've ever done because there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes than people actually think. I mean, from the editing to the recording to your equipment to the angles, all of these things play a vital role when it comes to your business. And it is very easy to fail when you're first getting started, having a lot of people give up and feel like they can't do it. But that's simply not true. Because you see, when I was first starting out, I was facing these roadblocks and these failures on a daily basis because I just threw myself into this podcasting world. I had no experience when it came to editing. I didn't know you had to have good lighting and all of this and, etc. And I just had no idea what I was doing. And because I was facing these failures, I wasn't educating myself from them. And because of that, it was making me want to give up because I wasn't seeing any growth, because I wasn't seeing my business get anywhere, but it was simply because I wasn't taking time to prepare myself before even jumping into it and then learning from my past failures. And that's where I believe that a lot of these people are going wrong and giving up because it's simply not because they have a bad idea or they're spreading a bad message. It's just the fact that real success takes real commitment. It takes dedication, it takes time, and it takes growth. And most people aren't willing to do that. Most people want that quick and easy success. They want to make a post and get 1 million views. They want to make their first sale and make 100K. And the second they realize that, hey, that's not realistic, they go and give up on their dream. So the number one thing you need to understand before we go any farther is that when you are becoming a content creator or building a business, you are going to fail. You are going to have problems. That is inevitable. And the quicker you get comfortable with it and educate yourself, the more you are going to see that growth. Now, a lot of you might be asking, well, how do I see that growth? Because I myself was asking that in 2022 because I was tired of basically giving up. I was tired of not going for my dream because I didn't know how to do anything. I was tired of just saying, you know what? I'm going to leave this bad content out there. I'm going to have this mediocre video quality and not learn from it. I was tired of that. So I really took the time. I dove into the internet and I really started asking questions. And when I mean really question, I mean like I was really questioning everything and trying to find those answers. I was doing hours and hours of just watching how-to videos or podcasters and seeing how they would carry themselves, how they would talk, see the different equipment in their room, the different lighting, things like that. And I would start to try to apply it to myself. I would read probably thousands. Like, this is not an exaggeration. Like, I spent months just reading articles and trying to grow. And I just read article after article after all of these, successful entrepreneurs and all these little motivations of, hey, you can't give up. You have to stay dedicated. You have to keep doing this. And the main thing that I really learned is that you have to get comfortable with these failures. So, if you're a growing content creator or entrepreneur, the very first thing I want you to do is just really research those questions. Now, I'm not talking about watching 1 or 2 videos and calling it a day. No, really take the time like I did. Read those articles, watch those how-to videos, practice. The best way you are going to grow is by failing. Take that opportunity to learn because I will sit here and tell you right now, all the questions you have when it comes to editing, when it comes to equipment, when it comes to promotions, etc., any of that, all of that is online. You just have to actually look for it. Now, secondly, when it comes to just your business or content as a whole, it is very important to understand that these things are going to take time. It has personally taken me almost 4 years until I've really started to reach people with this podcast. It takes time. With your first post, you're not going to hit 1 million views. With your first merchandise sale, you're not going to make $100,000. But you need to understand that that's okay. You need to figure out a way to be comfortable with those failures and roadblocks. Because if you're somebody who is comfortable with those failures, you see that little money, you see those little views, you then understand, hey, it's part of my journey. Those small numbers are small now, but they're going to be big later. You really need to try and get comfortable with those failures because, like we said before, they are inevitable when it comes to just building anything. No matter what you do, you are going to have a problem. You are going to face some sort of roadblock. But the best way that you can overcome it is to learn from it, educate yourself, and realize that, hey, if I take control and I see why this is happening, I can truly eliminate it entirely. And now, yes, I get it. These things are easier said than done. But trust me, I do not tell you these things just because. I tell you these things because I understand what it's like and I know how hard it is. I understand what it's like to fail and want to give up. But these things and these steps are genuinely what helped me get past those failures and even my current ones. And it will work. You need to just be comfortable with that success and really start asking questions. And last but not least, one of the biggest things that has helped me as an entrepreneur and content creator is really just seeing the bigger picture. Because when I was first starting and I was putting all of this work in, I was putting all this effort in for it to only get 1 or 2 views, it was the most demotivating thing ever because all of that effort I felt like was for nothing. But when I sat back and I realized, hey, you have to look at that bigger picture. You have to realize that it's part of your journey and that in order for you to grow, you have to just go past these things. You have to learn how to beat those failures and really overcome these things. If you guys really go back, through this episodes or, just when I first started, it will be very bad. Like the episode quality is going to be terrible. I'm not going to be looking at the camera. I'm going to be reading notes. But I left that up because it's my journey, because it helps me see that bigger picture and realize, you started at a place where it was terrible. You didn't know what you're doing. But right now, fast forward, we're seeing that growth. We're reaching people. And, it's just really important to look at that bigger picture because it is very easy to get lost in that failure. There's 100 times, probably 100 times in 1 week, I wanted to give up. I didn't want to make a post. I didn't want to make a podcast. But you have to see that bigger picture in order to grow. So understand that end of the day, being a content creator or entrepreneur is going to be very hard. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of dedication. But if you really research your questions, get comfortable with that failure, and always see the bigger picture when you need to, there is no reason why you can't reach that success. You really just have to stay with it, stay motivated, and keep going. Things are always going to happen. It's always going to feel like, everything's coming down. Or maybe 1 week you'll be on top of the world because that video did so good. And the next week it only got, 10 views? That's when you have to realize, like, hey, this is part of my journey. Because people who don't see the bigger picture and don't ask questions don't reach that success. But with that said, today's quote is by Vince Lombardi. He once said, "The price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and the determination that whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand." I appreciate you tuning in. You can follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And this is the Dowden Podcasts.